Well, good morning to everyone who's here. My name is Beth Rossner. I'm from the Berkeley Chamber. I think more people are joining us, but I want to just get started on a couple announcements. As a reminder, today's video will be posted to our website later today. I will put that in the chat box so you can easily find the link. I'd also like to welcome my event director, Andy Godwin, who will be monitoring our chat box this morning. Thank you, Andy. And just a reminder, please keep yourself muted during this presentation. I also wanted to let you know a couple of chamber announcements. The chamber this year has partnered with the City of Berkeley Office of Economic Development, and we are launching berkeleyholidays.com. This holiday website is going to feature an online gift guide to encourage shopping locally. So for any merchants on our call today, if your business has holiday gifts to sell, we'd love for you to be featured in the guide. There's no cost to you, thanks to our partnership with the city. And I will include that link in the chat box as well. The deadline to be included in the initial launch on November 20th is this coming Monday. So please take some time to register for this free marketing opportunity. I'd also like to thank our partner for this Berkeley Business Bootcamp, the Berkeley Public Library. And I would like to bring on Julia Wiswell from the library. And she's going to just take a few moments right now to tell you a little bit about the library and the resources they have to offer. So Julia, welcome. Please take it away.
Thanks, Beth. So my name's Julia. I am a librarian at the Berkeley Public Library, and we're really excited to be partnering with the Chamber of Commerce for this program series. This partnership actually grew out of work that myself and some of my colleagues were doing at the beginning of the COVID-19 pandemic. We worked closely with the city's Office of Economic Development, and then through that work, we're introduced to the work that the Chamber was doing to support businesses during the pandemic. This program partnership was a natural next step since we both have so many resources to offer the Berkeley business community. So later in the series, we are going to be having a presentation on some of the resources we offer at the library, but I wanted to point out a few of them right now that you can take a look at on your own. So we offer a very large e-library that is free with a library card, including the online learning platform Udemy, the research database Reference USA, and a special collection of ebooks from Gale. So all of this is free with your library card. And if you don't already have a library card, this is my pitch. You can visit the Berkeley Public Library website and sign up for one. They're free to anyone living in the state of California and provide access to all of the resources I mentioned, in addition to a lot more. So I recommend that you check it out. I'll pop some of the links into the chat for any resources you might be interested in. And with that, I'll hand it back over to Beth to get today's presentation started.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Julia. Now, without further ado, I would like to turn it over to our specialist today, Chamber member and founder of Marketing U, Lisa Kane. Lisa, welcome. Thank you for being here, and please take it away.
Thank you so much. Let me share my screen, and we'll get ourselves started right away. There we go. So today we're going to be talking about finding your profitable niche, which is super important for all businesses, as you'll see, but especially important for smaller businesses where we only have so many resources and we're trying to figure out the best way to use those resources and find a good target segment to work with. So just a little bit of background about me first. I'm Lisa Kane. My company is Marketing U, and I have a PhD from the Wharton School. I've taught both in academic environments, but my sweet spot and the place I love is working with small business owners. I think that there's so much that our small local businesses contribute to our communities, and that's why I really love doing what I do. My tagline is learn it, do it, profit. And that's another core idea that I have. I think that it's really important to take advantage of things like this that the Chamber and the library are putting together so that you can learn more. But more important, or as important, is the doing part. So it's not enough to just learn, but you've got to do it, and that way you'll get to the profit step. Before we get started, though, we've got a quick poll, just so that I can get a sense of how long folks have been in business. So if you could let me know if you've started more than 3, yeah, there you go. You've got it. I think there's a couple more folks. And maybe that's all we'll get. Andy, do you want to end it or do you want me? It looks like I can actually end it. I'll go ahead and end it. I can't hear you because you're muted.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead and end it.
Okay. I ended it, and so we can all see. So most people haven't started, or not quite most, but many people haven't started. And then there's a few folks who have been in business for more than 3 years, a few less than a year, and then one person 1 to 3 years. So I appreciate you answering that. That'll help me a little bit as we go through, so I can think about how to present the information in a way that makes most sense for most of the participants. So thank you for that. Let me close that up. Okay. So I'm trying to, let me get sorry, I've got the exciting Zoom. There we go. Get that out of the way. Okay, so I want to talk a quick overview of what the agenda is going to be. What is a niche and why you should want one? Brainstorming niches for your business. So for those of you who've been in business for longer, you probably have a sense of this. For those of you yet to start, it's a good way to think about all the possibilities. And then we're going to go through a process for evaluating and choosing the right niche. And then finally, we'll start talking about the next steps for marketing to that particular group. So first up, what is a niche and why do I care about it? So as you know, as a marketing consultant for small business owners in the Bay Area and elsewhere, one of the first things I ask clients is, well, who's your target segment? Who's a good ideal client for you? And so often the answer is, oh, well, I can sell anything to anybody. Everyone who has skin, or everybody who walks, or anybody can be my client. Which sounds great. It sounds like, oh, you have such a great market potential. But the challenge there is that marketing to everybody means that you're almost marketing to nobody. Nobody's really going to hear the message. They're not going to understand that you have exactly what they need. And so marketers learn to break these mass markets into specific smaller niches or segments. I'm going to use those two words interchangeably. And so, uh, you know, that's how I'm going to manage that conversation. But the idea is that each of these segments have different preferences and buying habits. And so we'll be able to market to them specifically so that when we do that, they'll know that we get what they need and we understand them. And big companies do this. You might think, oh, well, a big company, they have the resources to do mass marketing. Why would they need to do this? But one of my favorite examples is Crest. Crest has over 50 different types of toothpaste. And so, you know, from gum health to whitening to kids to all around protection, they've found that doing that kind of option, all those options helps them. People know, oh, if I have sensitive teeth, I should look for the sensitive teeth one. If I want whitening, I should look for the whitening one. And so that's one way to have a wide variety of products that are are offering your specialty needs for each of those segments. And small companies obviously do the same. And we're doing that to build a loyal following in 1 or 2 or maybe 3 market segments. When you've been in business for a longer period of time, you have a better understanding of who those potential segments might be. And when you're first starting out, it's good to look at a lot of options and see which ones are going to be a fit. And the reason that we do this is that when you give those target customers what they want, when, how, and where they want it, they're going to be more loyal, willing to pay more, and more likely to refer you. So, for example, Apple Computer is one of the prime examples, right? They offer their products. They have when they first started, they had specific idea of who that target customer was. Those customers are very loyal. They're willing to pay more for an Apple product, and they're more likely to be a raving fan and talk about it to their friends and family because they've gotten exactly what they wanted from the offer from Apple. So the steps that we're going to go through today are to identify different ways to segment. We're going to consider a variety of segments and niches, and then we're going to look at which ones make the most sense for you. So how do we do that segmentation? I'm curious, though I'm guessing I'm not going to be able to get a good show of hands here on this one. I didn't think to do a poll on whether your market is the consumer side of things or whether it's the business side of things. So for me, for example, I'm a marketing consultant. I offer my services to businesses. I don't offer them to the consumer market. Many businesses, however, especially a lot of the chamber members, they offer their products to the consumer market. So a retail shop offers it to the consumer market. In either case, there are ways to do segmentation. And so here are some examples of things that we look at depending on which market it is. For consumer markets, we're often talking about demographics, life cycle, where someone is in the life cycle. Are they single? Are they a parent? Are they retired? Where are they in that life cycle? What are the benefits that they're looking for in a purchase? Geography, of course, for local business is very important. How far away are they? What is our geography that we're looking at? On the other hand, if you are offering something online, then the geography starts to be less critical for you. What are their psychographics? What are they thinking about themselves in the context of what they're buying? Income can be another thing that we look at for segmentation. Usage rate, this one always cracks me up. So usage rate is how frequently someone uses something. And when I was getting my PhD, so the reason it cracks me up, when I was getting my PhD, we had a lot of data sets on usage rates on things. And there were interesting things about how often people bought ketchup, for example, right? So ketchup is something that people buy, they don't buy it every week, they buy it every few months. Of course, there were also some data sets on how often people bought toilet paper, which was sometimes scary because it wasn't as frequent. There was a group of people who weren't frequently buying it. So lots of interesting things about usage rate and to think about who your audience is. Are they going to be buying frequently or less frequently? And loyalty. And there are others as well. So we'll look at a few other examples that I have coming up. It depends on the market. For business markets, it can be things like the company size. It can be things like the company stage or their life cycle. Are they a startup? Are they established? I asked you guys, have they even started yet? So that was one of the questions I asked you. Where are they located? How far are they from you? What are the benefits sought? And who are the decision makers and their usage rate? And again, there can be more than that. So I want to go through an example here. Let's see. Hope you guys can see all of this. So there are ways we can think about segmenting the market for hospitalities. Basic hotel rooms is what I'm talking about here. And this is not a complete list, of course. I just wanted to do this for an example. So we can look at the user and what type of thing what type of travel experience. Are they going on vacation or are they traveling for business? If they're going on vacation, are they a family or are they a couple? If they're for business, where are they in the hierarchy of the organization? We could also look at the length of stay. Is someone staying for a short period of time or extended stay or even longer than 30 days? What amenities are they looking at? You're starting to see, for a while we've now seen hotels will talk about all their business services. So business ease might be a factor, but for other people, including, with families, swimming pools might be a factor or a kitchen. By location, is it downtown? Is it suburban? Is it a resort? So there's lots of different possibilities here and mixing and matching, which is what we're going to do for our own businesses is think about all the possibilities and how we can mix and match those to find possible segments out there. So I went to the Marriott Bonvoy website and they have dozens of brands. You can see here, I've got them there's no particular scale. My X and Y are not specifically meaningful, but the more expensive brands are up here, the Ritz-Carlton, St. Regis, Westin W. They've got Fairfield Inn, they've got these longer stay type, they've got some resort type places, and they basically looked at, and some of these are specifically more in cities, some of them may be more in suburbs like Courtyard, some of them may be more in resort areas. So they've got a lot of different options. Again, they've segmented the market and they have offers for those different segments. One takeaway you can realize is that sometimes I might be in the need of a resort, but other times I might be in the need of a downtown hotel. And so even as an individual, we're not always just segmenting the person, we're segmenting the market and the ways they might behave in various ways. Does that make sense? Hopefully. I know I talk fast, so if I'm going too fast, give me a holler. Okay. All right. So what are your potential segments? I want you to take a minute and think about some of these things for your market. And if you have any questions, if you want to, see, we're up to about 30 people. I could probably take a question live if we're up for that, or we can throw it in the chat. Andy, do you have a preference on that?
If you have any questions, please put them in the chat and I'll ask them.
Thank you. What I'm hoping you'll do is take a minute and think, well, who is my target? Who could be a potential for me, for my business? Am I looking at a local market? Am I looking at something online? Am I looking, what are the benefits of the folks that are likely to buy from me? What are they looking for? Are they going to use it often or are they going to use it less frequently? Okay. So I see there's the small scale locally made holiday goods this year. So for that, we've got the geography is probably focused because although you could offer it online, that is a possibility. So you could have a wider market. So the things I would be thinking about, first off, I think if you can put yourself in the promotion that the city and the chamber are offering, that would be great because it sounds like it's exactly the right audience for what you've got. And thinking about kind of value, locally made crafts, high quality goods that are from their community. And at this moment in time, especially with COVID, where I know a lot of those who sell those types of things are struggling because there's not the normal fairs, there's not the normal outlets. Really honing in on who that person is, thinking about social media as a way to reach them, maybe an opportunity. Also looking at online places, for example, Etsy might be a place where you could go. I know I'm jumping a little bit further into the what to do once you know who your target audience is. So I would think about who they are, where they are, what they care about, and whether it's more likely to be when you part of all the reason we do this is that it makes it much easier to do the marketing, right? When you go in to do an ad somewhere online, you can say, oh, well, I want women between the ages of 30 and 60 who have a house, who who have kids, if the product relates to that, or who don't have kids, right? There's a lot of ways you can really hone in on your audience once you've done this work. There are more
We
questions.
do have a couple questions.
Yeah, go ahead.
One is from Paige, and it's thoughts on teaching kids and parents to cook online.
Okay. Um, So I think again, so you've got your audience idea, you've got parents and kids together. So that's a point in the life cycle where they're looking for something to do fun, perhaps, right? So it's when you're thinking about where you're going to land, it's going to be in activities, be in the same scope as other, camps or other types of things like that. So thinking about that range. It sounds like one thought I want to say about geography is if you're doing this online because of COVID, but you want to land locally, it probably makes sense to put more of your effort still in building a local audience than in a wider long audience. But if your long run plan is to be online always, then of course the geography is less critical. I've noticed um, I think there's a lot of opportunity on social media, in particular on Instagram, to highlight that what your offer is for the online cooking class for parents and kids, and to build an audience through doing small, short video of what you would be doing in that, and talking about it in that space. I've seen more of that on Instagram than elsewhere. I think that audience is also hanging out on Instagram more than they are on Facebook or other social media. And again, this might be something to include in the chamber and the city's new website if it's holiday focused. Other questions?
Really? Yes, we have one from Angela. She is hoping to launch in the candy industry, so it's not a critical food item, but would like to know how to make my chocolate with a twist more than an impulse item or a treat item.
Hmm. Yeah. So the so I think thinking again about who that audience is, what is differentiating your chocolate from other chocolates, which we're going to get to a little bit more in a few minutes. It sounds like you want people who are going to be loyal, right? So that they come back and it's not just a one-time purchase. So thinking about who cares about the quality of their chocolate, want that type of good, and thinking about getting their usage rate to be more frequent. So that those would be the kinds of things you'd be thinking about as you're defining that consumer audience. I'm trying to think specifically. The first thing that popped into my head was thinking about a subscription as the offer. So it's not just a one-time purchase, but it's a monthly chocolate or specialty, specials of the month or something like that, where you bring people back in and it's not just a one time sale. Is there
One more
one?
question
Yeah.
from Melissa. Any thoughts on social media for people offering services rather than goods? I'm trying to build my private speech therapy practice. My audience, parents and caregivers for other adults.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So with I think if so is it I'm curious, parents and other adults, so the reason I'm looking confused is I'm just trying to decide where those folks are showing up. Part of why we do the segmentation is to do the marketing and thinking about where people show up online. And is it better to be on Instagram or Facebook? My guess is that Twitter is probably not the place for that. I could see Facebook or Instagram being the right place depending on the age of the audience. Facebook is skewing older as time goes on, whereas Instagram is skewing a bit younger. You can run ads that can show in both places through the Facebook ad manager. You can manage the whole thing that way. I think the other thing I would think about with respect for speech therapy is to really think about who refers people to speech therapists. So is it teachers, like looking for good referral partners will probably yield you better results than spending a lot of time trying to find the individual clients. I know I'm veering off a bit here, so let's do a couple more questions and then I'm going to move on.
One from Joy says higher education, advocacy consulting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so sounds like the market is the market the business market, or is the market the consumer market? Because I could hear that two different ways. So what I think I'm going to do actually is I'm going to go through a few more slides and then we'll cycle back to more questions because I want to make sure I get through a few more things. So including, if you could post a follow-up on the higher education thing, that would be great. And then I can address that in a little bit. Okay, here we go. One thing I want to say, because this sometimes gets people, is that they get afraid to specify one niche or two niches because they feel like if that's, so I don't want to say no to somebody. The point is you can still say yes to whoever shows up to buy your goods. It's once you identify the target segments, it's much easier to do the marketing. You saw a few minutes ago as I was talking through some of these examples, I kept jumping to the marketing instead of focusing on the niche definition, which was cool. But it is because it becomes so much easier. If I know that I'm marketing to parents of a certain age, now I know, okay, where would I find them on social? Where would I find them in print? Where would I find them online or in real life? And it makes all of that so much easier. You can identify the messaging you want, everything, much more clearly when you have one or two segments instead of trying to do it for everybody else in the world. And those other people who are interested, they'll find you. If you've got what they want, that's great. And you just don't have to think about investing all of your marketing effort for everybody. So once we've gotten a few, we can look and think about the criteria under which we want to evaluate. How big is that segment? Are they growing, or are they stagnant? Are they profitable? That's always important. What is the competitive situation? What are my skills, especially for small service businesses, which we've got a few of those out there that we were talking about? What are my own skills, your own skills? What are your resources? Is this going to be a fit for the short term, for the long term? So all of those are ways to consider evaluating them. I want to show you a worksheet that I have for doing that. And if you send me an email at lisa@marketingu.com, I will send you all the worksheets. I've got 3 worksheets that I've got that I'm going to go through today. So here we've got some of those criteria that I was just talking about. We can think, and there's a couple extras in here, other structural factors. Are they similar to my current clients? You would put each of the segment names in here. So parents and kids, or women over 50, or whatever those segments were that you were thinking about. How big are they? Are they growing or not? The growth thing is pretty important, depending on how big you can get. But if you want to grow really large, you want to be thinking about what that growth rate is. Many years ago, when I was teaching in MBA programs, I used a case on Mary Kay, and they were trying to decide between the Japanese market or the China market. And the Japanese market for makeup was very huge, really huge, but also not growing very fast anymore. Whereas the Chinese market was super small, but growing really fast. And it turned out, with a few different things, including cultural fit, etc., that the Chinese market was the one that was much more successful for them. So you want to think about all of these different aspects, rate these different segments, and decide which ones seem to be a better match. Make sense? Now I gotta get myself back to my main slides. Sorry. Okay, there we go. So once you do that evaluation, what do we do next? You want to go through a process of describing your tribe. So who are the folks in that niche? What can we talk about them? Writing your positioning statement, and then planning your marketing mix, all of the offers, the pricing, the channel partners, and marketing communication strategy. I'm going to show you a a worksheet for describing your tribe and then for writing your positioning statement. I'll do the describe your tribe. We'll answer some more questions, and then we'll do the positioning statement one. I think that'll work well. So for describing your tribe, come on. There we go. Who are they? Right? So just you want to think about who they are. Who are the decision makers? This is an important factor because it's not just the person you've described, right? Sometimes you say, oh, my market is kids. Well, are the kids the decision makers or the parents? Or sometimes you might say my market is the parents, but really the decision maker is the kid. So thinking about who is involved in that decision making will influence how you end up doing the marketing. Who is influencing them? Who are those referral partners in the example that we were talking about for speech therapy, for example? What are their interests and concerns? When do they want to buy, right? Sometimes that's a factor if you have a seasonal product. You also want to think about maybe they care about the time of day, maybe they don't. If you have people who are really only going to think about what you offer in the evening, you may need to offer evening hours. Where are they in their life cycle, in their budget cycle, especially if they're a corporate client or a nonprofit client or some kind of larger organization, their budget cycle can actually be important. My husband's a web developer. He just got a new client. They want to spend the money before the end of the year, so they've got a specific timeline. Where do they go? Where do they like to go for services and products like yours? Online, in a shop? Do they like to look on Google? Where do they like to look? Why and how do they like to buy? Do they like the subscription model? Do they like to buy one off? Do they want really customized service? Are they fine with other types of service? Those are all some things to be thinking about. And again, this worksheet will be available. So can we go through a few more questions and then I'll go to the positioning statement.
Yes, we can. I have a question from, let me scroll all the way back up, from Pam, who said, older computer users who need help working with their existing Mac computers.
Great. That's a great defined market. I think in terms of them, where do you go to find those folks? There are Facebook groups and other groups where they're likely to be showing up. I think there's that older market is on Facebook more than the younger market. Like 10 years ago, it was the other way around, but today you find the older market on Facebook. There may be other places that they look for referrals as well. So for example, depending on how old they are, there's senior setters, there's other types of places where they're going to show up. Of course, with COVID, some of that won't play, but those facilities are still offering resources to their audience. And so thinking about where you can find them, what things they're looking for already is one way to start to address that market.
Awesome. This question is from Clara. She said, I am interested in starting an agricultural import company. Do you have any information/resources for this type of business?
I am going to guess that the library does. That's one area I apologize. I don't know that much about agricultural import, but from what Julia said earlier, it sounds like the library might actually have some good resources for you on that. Things I would think about are, do you have is the full channel figured out where you would get the product and who your clients are? And thinking about what they're going to care about and those particular clients, if it's it sounds like it might be a broker type of arrangement. And so understanding buyers in that market care about would be important.
Awesome. I think that's all the questions we have for now.
Okay, great. So let's talk about the positioning statement. So I want to go through this a little bit because this could be the real core of how you do the rest of the marketing. And I've got an example here, and then we'll do, and then on this page, we've also got the opportunity on this worksheet for you to do your own. But I want to walk through an example. So the idea behind a positioning statement is it pulls in who that profitable niche, profitable segment is that you've talked about earlier, what it is that they want and need, and then how your product delivers for what they need. And really showing the reasons behind that. What are the benefits that you offer? A couple of things I like to add to the traditional positioning statement is the brand character. Sometimes it helps also to think about a celebrity or a TV or movie character who would best exemplify your brand. So I encourage people to do this for computers because we all kind of have a sense of, okay, Apple, Dell, we get it. So we'll walk through a little bit of that example. And then the next page would be a place where you can think about your own brand. So for let's say for Macs, we'll start with Macs. For computer users who care about ease of use, high design, other things that I'm sure you guys have a lot of adjectives you think about when you think about a Mac user, and what they're looking for, and they're wanting these elements of it. They want it to be easy to use, just plug and play. They want it to be well designed, want it to have a clean aesthetic, all of those things. The the Mac is a personal computer that all of that, plus a little bit of a status, right? There's a little bit of status for Apple users. And it's because it is well designed. There is a lot of effort put into that. There is a price point that allows you to understand that difference as well. The brand character, usually when I do this, I solicit input on this, but the brand character terms I typically hear: clean, well designed, modern, a little more exclusive or luxury. And so those are ways to kind of think about the Mac. Now, if we did this for a Dell, we'd end up with a whole other set of adjectives, right? The Dell computer, of which I have one right now, the one I'm using here is the Dell. It's a little bit more of a workhorse, right? It's not about the high design. It's about wanting something. I can tell you my own story, right? I wanted something relatively inexpensive that would be durable and reliable. And the Dell is the personal computer that has those characteristics. It's not super sleek, admittedly, but it gets the job done, which was what I needed when the pandemic hit, when I needed a new laptop. So the brand character is a little bit more stodgy than an Apple, a little more on the conservative side than the hipster side. So that gives you a sense of how different they are. Now, both companies are successful. Both companies, excuse me, sell plenty of computers. And one is obviously, I think Apple is more profitable, but they have a much broader product line than just laptops these days and desktops. But you get a sense of what I'm talking about here with what this positioning statement can do. And then when you go to do your marketing, you can refer back to it. Does this message that I'm writing in this ad, will that be compelling to someone who cares about design or not, right? Is it compelling to someone who cares about reliability or not? So those are the things to be thinking about, testing your marketing efforts on your positioning statement as you write it. What I'd like to invite you to do is maybe do a quick version of this, and take about 5 minutes and think about who your end users are based on what we talked about, just a first draft, even if you haven't figured out the most profitable niche. But to do this for a couple minutes and give you about 5 minutes to do it, Think about who your audience is, what they want, and how you're differentiated for that offer. And then we'll do a couple of, it will be great if we can get a couple of folks to tell us theirs, and then I can help ask a few questions and refine it. And if you have any questions on how to do it, feel free to pop those up too. About 3 more minutes. Okay, let's do about 1 more minute. And if someone wants to share, that would be great. Okay. Anyone want to give it a go? One of the folks who asked a question earlier, maybe? And if not, that's okay too. I'm going to go ahead and go back to the main presentation, but if you're ready to share, feel free to. Oh, I see Beth. Great. Do you want to go ahead, Beth, and tell us yours? Unmute first.
Yeah, I'll give it a shot.
Thank you.
So, all right, so this is not easy. So, somatic self-care in the time of COVID-19 is for people feeling disconnected by the limitations of the time and needing connection and care. The somatic self-care in the time of COVID-19 is a Zoom workshop series that provides practices, support, and connection for. I feel like that needs to be more specific, but I didn't get anything.
Okay.
Because Beth Barron, that's me, has skill, experience, and a unique way of looking at things and figuring out what will work best for an individual. Brand character is, I couldn't narrow it down. I just said warm, caring, accessible, smart, helpful, and individualized. And I did not get any, I could not think of any.
Yes, no celebrity came to you.
Yeah, no celebrity came to me.
Okay. So great. I think that's a great start that you've got there. I think in on who is who that audience is, right? Who is going to be a good match for it. So I heard a little bit about people feeling disconnected, but I think there's probably even a narrower group than that. And it sounds like you're offering it online, so geography isn't necessarily a criteria.
Right.
But my guess is, from my experiences in this world, is it's probably women who are your market. It's probably women of a certain age range who are your market. It's women who part of the message may be, caring for yourself helps you to care for others as well. Because of that sense of overwhelm that I think some people, many of us have been feeling for the past 9 months, 8 months. And so naming some of those things, so for women between this age and that age who have been feeling overwhelmed in the age of COVID and are trying to reconnect to themselves so that they're able to care for those that are important in their lives, this set of workshops will help ground you, will bring you that sense of ease and calm that you're looking for, and give you the space to take care of yourself in the midst of the crazy between not just COVID-19, but COVID-19 and the holidays. I don't know what your timing is, but
Yeah.
Layer the holiday trauma on top of everything.
Yeah.
And you got a lot of people who could really benefit, I'm sure, from your offer.
Yeah.
So, but I think naming a lot of that is important so people get that you get them, right? A lot of this is about calling it out so people understand that you understand who they are and what they need.
Right.
Okay?
Okay, I tried to take notes on everything you said because it was really great.
Well, it's going to be in the recording online.
So I can go back to it. Yeah.
Great. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks for being a guinea pig.
We have one more, if you don't mind, from Angela. Angela, I just unmuted you, I think. Go ahead.
Okay. Good morning, everybody. And here's my statement / pitch. And basically, I'm offering a small moment of joy. And what that means is it's a chocolate with a twist. And this is a chocolate enhanced with CBD, and it's for women. I originally thought it would be for women who read Oprah magazine, but really it's for women who feel harried and stressed during their day and who like to take a quiet moment of relaxation. So this would give them a sense of indulgence, or this could also be something that they can share with others. So my demographic, psychographic were women who possibly might be dealing with pain, menopause issues, things like that.
Yeah, so I think so for women of a certain age who want that moment of joy, you have the chocolate combination that has that twist so that they're able to take a moment or a little longer than a moment, depending on the efficacy and how long it lasts, um, to relax into um, their their moment of calm in a way, right? That's kind of what I'm hearing. And do you have a brand name yet?
No, I don't. I have a couple of things percolating in my mind, but I
Uh-huh.
don't have a brand name. And
Okay.
originally, I thought I wanted it to be a chocolate in the shape of a fortune cookie and have
Uh-huh.
positive affirmation inside, but
Uh-huh.
it's such a one-time item only. I'm switching that to a molded chocolate piece because basically
Okay.
chocolate CB is sold in bars or in drops.
Okay. Okay. Some, as you were talking, and I don't know who else remembers these, but when I was a kid, they had those eight chocolate mints. Does anyone else remember those? Am I just dating myself? And they were individual sleeves. And
Oh,
somehow when you were talking, I was like, I dropped back into that moment and thought, oh, well, it's kind of an after dinner treat that you could have every day if you wanted. Um,
okay.
After dinner, a little moment instead of a glass of wine. It might make you feel even better with less hangover, and having that treat and that joy. So maybe that's something to think about. Again, I'm dating myself. So but your market may be about my age. So I don't know.
Yeah, there will be a slight educational component about where it's sourced, what it does, and it would have to
Yeah.
be from a lab, actually. Yeah.
Hmm. 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 Yeah, so I think doing some of that, I hope that was helpful to you to kind of get a little bit more clarity on who it could be. Great. Thanks. Any others, Andy, or are we good?
I think we're good.
Okay, great. Um, so once you've done that step, the next step is really all of the marketing, right? We know who our folks are, we know where they're showing up, we have a better understanding of the messaging, the positioning that we're offering for them, how it overlaps with what we offer, not just what they want, but this match of what we offer and what they want. And then we can really define all the elements of the marketing mix. Used to be we called it the four P's. We've moved from there because a lot of these things don't start with a P anymore. I like to think of it as the actual offers, whether that's a service or a product or a combination of the two. And in fact, often a combination of the two is even better. In fact, I was thinking that Angela and Beth could get together and offer chocolates experience, full on self care, partner that way, because your audiences are not all that different. What is the pricing going to be? Is there only going to be one offer and one price, or are you going to have differentiated offers with different prices? There's whole conversations about pricing that can be had, and I think the library said they offer Udemy access. I have a class on Udemy about pricing for profits, so you're welcome to go look for that too via the library. Thinking about who your channels, your partners are, your channels of distribution, that's another element of the marketing mix. The question that came up earlier about for the speech therapist, thinking about who can be a good referral partner. And again, that can apply in a lot of situations, but especially for small service businesses where people do depend a lot on that referral. Who is in a position to give your name to somebody else? Um, and don't underestimate that as a long-term way to really build a business in a local service business. And then what is the marketing communication strategy? So the advertising, the social media strategy, the other ways that you're going to be communicating organically or paid. All of that becomes part of your overall marketing plan that would fit into your bigger business plan. Um, and so If you want more help from me in particular, I do offer a free 30-minute consultation, and you can learn more about that at marketingu.com. I do also have some upcoming classes that I have there. Um, I have one in December that you can see on there as well, and they're under the Learn It section. So I'd love to help folks, and I'm open to any additional questions in our last few minutes here.
All right, here's a question for you. Do you have any suggestions about where to find data on our segments? I believe that my client base exists, millennials and young families, but how many are in Bay Area and where are they growing or shrinking?
Yeah, great question. And honestly, one of the best tools that is I would actually use Facebook for that. So if you go into the ads manager, you don't have to actually pay for an ad. You can build an audience though in the ad manager. And since Facebook is pretty ubiquitous, it's not necessarily, not every single person has an account, but it's pretty ubiquitous and you could get relative market size. You can put in things like age range, you can put in geographies, you can put in demographic, life cycle stuff. There's a lot of elements that you can put in to build the demographic group, and it'll tell you how many people fit into that category in with all those criteria that you've selected. So that's a quick way. Again, not 100% accurate, but it's pretty quick and gives you a general range of what the market size is for that particular segment. Make sense? Yeah. Any others? Well,
Do you
thank
have
you.
any tips for some social media marketing?
Yeah. So, there's the finding your niche is important because then the next step is where are they showing up? And thinking about social from that perspective first. So we didn't have very many business to business examples, but if your audience is B2B, then you'd want to be spending more time on LinkedIn because that's where folks are going in their business persona. On the other hand, if it's mostly consumer market, then you want to be looking at the biggies in the consumer side of things, Facebook, Instagram, and to a lesser extent for most people, Twitter. Depends on your audience and where they're showing up again. And then thinking about building your audience on Facebook or Instagram using the specific elements of each of those. So on Instagram, using hashtags, using partnerships with other people that are in similar industries. There's a lot of ways to leverage other influencers and your audience to grow each other. And that's a good way to do it without spending a lot of money in terms of advertising. You can also spend money on advertising. As I mentioned, there's the Facebook Ad Manager is a way to get in there and create ads for both Facebook and Instagram. And then Facebook, I think, a couple things to think about with Facebook is obviously you want to have a business page just for the presence, but you may prefer to have a Facebook group if you're building a community and your goal is really to have community interaction. So a Facebook group gives you that way to have that more of a dialogue community sensibility if that's a match for your business. The business page, these days people aren't going to what you post unless you pay Facebook. So understanding that going in and understanding the pros and the cons of that is important. But definitely paid advertising can be a match depending on your market. Using Facebook or Instagram or LinkedIn even. I've had good success with clients in especially if their target market are HR professionals on LinkedIn paid. Thank you. I think we're about out of time.
Well, Lisa, thank you so much for this wonderful presentation. I think everybody has found it very helpful. If any of you have any other questions, feel free to reach out to Lisa directly. I've put her email in the chat a few different places, lisa@marketingu, or feel free to visit the website, which is up on the screen. I want to thank everybody for attending today and just let you know that part 3 will be coming up Thursday, December 10th at 10 a.m. This topic will be how to use networking for business growth. So we hope you'll all join us then. We'll have the link up later today to register for that. And I hope everyone enjoys the rest of their day. And again, if you're a merchant and you'd like to join our Berkeley Holidays gift guide, please jump over to the Chamber website and you can register there. So thank you again, everyone, and enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate the time and the effort.
Thank